Yo guys, today I'm going to be ranking every single plant inside the original Plants vs. Zombies game. Let's get into the video. First up we have Pea Shooter, the first plant you get in the whole entire game. It takes 10 peas to destroy one zombie, which is not bad considering it's the first plant in the whole entire game. It's good, but not the best at the same time. But it's the first plant you get, you can't really complain with that. I think it is A tier. Next up we have Sunflower. It costs 50 sun, but also gives you 25 sun per sun drop. I think it's really good considering you can't play the game without it. A tier. Next up we have Cherry Bomb. It costs 150 sun and destroys groups of zombies at once. I think it's good, but not the best, so I think it deserves to be in B tier. Next up we have Walnut, which basically just guards your plants from the zombies. It's decent, B tier. Next up we got Potato Mine. It costs 25 sun but has to charge up. It could destroy pretty much any zombie in the game. It's really good. A tier. Next up we got Snow Pea. Basically just an upgraded version of the Pea Shooter. It costs 175 sun and slows down the zombies. And I think it's very, very good. A tier. Next up we have Chomper. It costs 150 sun and eats zombies. The only problem, it takes a very long time for it to swallow them, so I don't see many cases when I'll be using this, so I think it deserves to be inside C tier. Next up we have Repeater. It costs 200 sun and is basically just a pea shooter, but shoots 2 peas at once. I think it's good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up we have Puff Shroom. It costs 0 sun and can only shoot from up close. But the only problem is that the zombies can easily eat it, but besides that, it's probably one of the best plants inside the whole entire game. I think it is a S tier. Next up we have Sunshroom. It costs 25 sun, but at first it only gives you 15 sun per drop. To me it's basically just a downgrade of the Sunflower, but considering at night you can't really get much sun, this is one way that you get a lot. But if you just keep waiting a little bit, then it will eventually become big and drop 25 sun. It's not the best, but I think it goes inside B tier. Next up we have Fume Shroom. It's really good, but the only thing it's really good at is shooting through screen doors, since it's really hard to destroy those normally. That's really the only way that you're going to easily be able to destroy a screen door. I think it is very good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up we have Grave Digger. It destroys graves so you can put a plant there, and so the zombie doesn't come out on the final wave. I think it deserves to be inside C tier. Sorry I couldn't get footage of the next plants inside the nighttime levels. There was an error, but I think Scaredy Shroom deserves to be inside A tier. And I think Hypno Shroom deserves to be inside B tier. And I also think Ice Shroom deserves to be inside B tier. Next up we have the Doom Shroom. It can easily destroy many zombies at once. There's not really anything to say about this besides it's really good. I think it goes inside A tier. Next up we have a lily pad. You can't really put plants in the water, so this is the only way you'll be able to put them inside the water, by placing the lily pad down before you put the plant down. I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Next up we have the Squash. It costs 50 sun and can basically squash any zombie in the game. I think it's really good. I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Next up we have Three Peter. It's a pea shooter but shoots inside 3 lanes at once. I think it is very helpful and you can use it in many situations. So I think it's really good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up we have Tangled Kelp. It costs 25 sun and pulls the zombies under the water. I don't see many cases when I'll be using this. So, in my opinion, it's just not the best. So, I think it deserves to be inside C tier. Next up, we have Jalapeno. It costs 125 sun and destroys a whole lane of zombies. I think it's decent. I don't see many times I'll be using this. So, I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Next up we have Spikeweed. It costs 100 sun and every time a zombie steps on it, it gets damaged. I think it's really good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up we have Torchwood. It basically just turns a pea shooter into a fire pea shooter. I don't see many cases where I'll be using this, so I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Next up, we have Tall Nut. It's just an upgraded version of the walnut and makes it so the pogo zombies cannot jump over you. I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Also, only a small percentage of you guys are actually subscribed, so if you can do me a favor and smash that subscribe button, that'd be very nice. Next up, we have the Water Puff Shroom. I don't really know the name, but all I know is that it's actually probably one of the worst plants inside the whole entire game, and I think it goes inside D tier. Next up, we have Plantern. It's really useful because without the Plantern, you could not see inside the fog, so I think it's actually really good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Cactus. It's not really that good. It costs 125 sun. It's just a downgrade of a pea shooter in my opinion. It can shoot down balloon zombies, but that's really the only good thing it's doing. So I probably wouldn't be using it too much, but I think it deserves to be inside C tier. Next up, we have Blover. It removes all the fog, but instead you could just use a Plantern, so it's decent. The only thing it's really good at is getting rid of balloon zombies, so I think it goes inside B tier. Next up, we have Split Pea. On the back, it shoots like a repeater, and on the front, it shoots like a pea shooter, so I think it's pretty good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Starfruit. It costs 125 sun and it can shoot in 5 directions. It's really good. It does a decent amount of damage to the zombies. So in my opinion, it's a really, really good plant. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Pumpkin. At least that's what I think it's called. It basically just guards your plants because you can place it on top of them, so then you got an extra protection around them. I think it's pretty good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Magnet Shroom. It basically just takes away the magnetic objects from the zombies. So I think it's really good. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Cabbage Pole. Basically just a pea shooter, but on the roof levels. I think it's pretty good, just like the pea shooter. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Flower Pot. You cannot play on the roof levels without it, so you kind of need it. I think it deserves to be inside A tier. Next up, we have Corn Pole. It either shoots kernels of corn or butter. The butter freezes the zombies, so that's really good. So I think it deserves to be inside of A tier. Next up, we got Coffee Bean. You cannot use the nighttime plants without it. The nighttime plants are kind of like adults. They need coffee to survive. And I think it's pretty decent, so I think it can be inside B tier. Next up, we have Garlic. It costs 50 sun and makes the zombies move to different lanes. It's actually pretty good, so I think it deserves to be inside of A tier. Next up, we have the Palm Tree. At least that's what I think it's called. It just gets away the bungee jumping zombies, so it's actually pretty decent. I think it deserves to be inside B tier. Next up, we have the Marigold. It basically just drops you coins, but you can easily get them, so it's really not the best. I think it deserves to be inside of C tier. Next up, we have the Melon Pole. It does so much splash damage and costs 300 sun. I think it's very good. I think it deserves to be inside of A tier. Next up, we got Twin Sunflower. It's basically just 2 times as good as a normal sunflower. A tier. Next up, we got Pea Galleon. It's basically just a pea shooter, but shoots 4 peas at a time. It's really good. S tier. Next up, we got Cattail. It can shoot in any direction, and it's super good. S tier. The rest of this footage is not for myself, sorry. It's because I don't have some of these plants, but I think Kava Cannon is probably the best plant in the whole game. It does so much damage, and it's definitely the best. I think it deserves to be definitely inside of S tier. Next up, we have Spike Rock. Basically just an upgrade of the normal spike weed. It does so much damage, it's actually insane. It's so good. Definitely S tier. Next up, we have Gloom Shroom. Basically just a fume shroom, but shoots in many directions. It's really good. S tier. Next up, we have Imitator. It can become any plant in the whole entire game. It's actually kind of insane. I think it deserves to be inside of S tier. Next up, we have the Winter Melon Pole. It does so much damage and freezes the zombies. Definitely S tier. For the last plant, it's probably the most useless in the game. Basically just collects coins. That's really easy. Definitely D tier. That's going to end today's video. Thanks for watching. Also, please smash that like and subscribe button, and maybe share it to a friend. This video took so long to make, it's actually crazy. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.